Hello, everybody. This is Vicki Townsend. I'm the founder of the Cafe D, and I am so excited to be starting this new series called Divorce RX. We are here each and every week with industry professionals in the divorce industry that will help you take your experience from something that could be really crazy and you'll feel uninformed, where you'll have some control and you'll have some knowledge about the actual crazy process that is divorce. So each week we're going to be bringing you attorneys, accountants, financial advisors, child psychologists, and marriage and family counselors. We'll have real estate. You'll learn how to do what you want to do with your jewelry. We'll talk to private investigators. We'll talk to life and business coaches. We're going to talk to everybody in the legal field to help you make your experience as good and as pain-free, saving you time, money, and your sanity. And that's what we're here to do today. So we are kicking this off with something that I think is so amazing, and that is my friend Sonia Queralt, that is a former divorce attorney from the great state of Massachusetts. She practiced in Boston. She is a graduate of the American University in Washington, D.C. So she is a smart cookie, and she's going to be telling you all about her confessions of a former divorce attorney, how you can save yourself all of those amazing things like that time, money, and sanity piece that's so important to all of us. Our goal here with this series is to kind of shorten the learning curve for you so that you can come out of this feeling really, really good and confident that you're making some really good and wise choices for yourself. And so with that, I want to welcome you, and I want to welcome Sonia. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. I'm going to give you a little bit of her bio. I've got that right here. Attorney Sonia Queralt is the founder of Divorceify. This is the cool part, is that she's not practicing divorce law anymore. She's now a concierge divorce coach that will help you go through the process with strong support, resources, and organization to those who feel overwhelmed by the logistics and shock of the divorce process. Isn't that us all, right? Divorceify's mission is to empower people navigating through a divorce. The goal is to maximize results and prepare clients to emerge and succeed in their new life. Whether the goal is to obtain custody, receive alimony, or achieve other specific goals, Divorceify, that's her company, helps clients achieve their goals. So like I told you, Sonia came from Boston, Massachusetts. She is a graduate from American University in Washington, D.C., where she received a BA in Justice and Law with a specialization in psychology, which is why she makes this whole process, not only just the legal part of it, but she understands the emotional part of it, that herself. So she is a member of the Women's Bar Association, the Boston Bar Association, the American Bar Association, and the National Association of Women Judges. That's awesome. So welcome, Sonia. How are you today? I'm so excited that we are launching this.
Me too. Hi, thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be here. There was not a lot of sleep last night. I was excited to get this going, so I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, and I'm thrilled that you're with us. And we're going to tell everybody what we've got in store for them in the future going forward, because you and I are going to be doing something really special on a regular basis. So I want everybody to, I know we want everybody to get involved with it. So, I want to go ahead and kind of launch, dive right into it, Sonia. The reason that I was so excited about having you on here is that I know you're going to hold nothing back. I know that this does not, this is one of those things that there's not even a question as to whether this is self-serving information, because it's clearly not. She's going to lay it on the line with what you can do to do a better job with your divorce process. And I'm going to be really honest with you. My last divorce was not my first divorce. So that's one thing. And I'm a pretty smart cookie. And even with that said, I made one little mistake in how I hired and who I hired. Not that I liked my divorce attorney, it was great. But I made a strategic error that they guesstimated cost me somewhere between $12,000 and $15,000.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. And so those, that's the type of money that I don't want anybody else to lose. And so it's by understanding the process and, you know, wiggling your way through there so that you can make some really good decisions. So Sonia, I want to start this this ball rolling, and I want to find out, what is it that you think is the biggest mistake men and women make when they are starting in the divorce, looking for a divorce attorney?
Absolutely. So I think that I would say the biggest mistake that people make is they don't shop around. We shop around for bargains, for clothes, for food, coupons, and you shop around because your divorce attorney is really going to be the most intimate part of your team. They are your voice in court. So you not only want to go with a divorce attorney that is smart and somebody whose rates are maybe extremely high, so you're thinking, wow, their rates are so high, they must be very good. What you're really looking for is somebody that you have a connection with, somebody whose vision aligns with yours, somebody whose goals are exactly what your goals are, and somebody who understands what your priorities are. Because in a divorce, as if you're going through it, if you're thinking about a divorce, if you've been through it, as you know, sort of your goals change as you're going through the process. Initially, you're sort of trying to get yourself to file for divorce. And then once you filed for divorce, if you have children, that becomes an important piece, because then you're trying to figure out parenting time, custody schedules, what's your work schedule like? So you really want to shop around for an attorney who really understands what your priorities are and is going to do everything to get you there. You want to be comfortable with your divorce attorney. You're going to be sharing very intimate details. And I think that there's an element of that. There has to be trust and honesty. There are some divorce attorneys that all they communicate is via email. Okay, that may not work for you. And if you are somebody that needs more FaceTime or needs more sort of and it's support in terms of telephone calls, that type of attorney is not going to work for you for your process. So I think the biggest mistake that people make is that they get into a position where they finally decided, okay, I'm ready to file for divorce. They go and speak with one attorney and they say, you know what, this is it. This is great. This works. Okay, they're going to help me get there. But it's deeper than that. And as somebody who comes, as somebody who understands the emotional piece to divorce, I think it is extreme. I tell my clients, shop around, go talk to somebody else. I have colleagues that I would refer my family to. And if somebody is having doubts, I want to make sure that that we work, our relationship really works, and that our expectations are the same and we are aligned in getting you the best results that we can. And we're really, one of the most important pieces is for people to be very clear and clients to be very clear about what their non-negotiables are and also about what their priorities are. And as a lawyer, that's where we're going. That's my vision, that's my focus, and that's where we're going.
So Sonia, when you're choosing an attorney, and when you were just saying the things that you were just saying right now, you were talking to me because I did not shop. I didn't know there was such a thing. And I know that sounds stupid to somebody on your side, but on my side, it was, you know, I assumed, and this was, you know, before I knew, you know, and now you know better, you do better, right?
That's right.
I will ever do this again. I will never do this again. But what I want to do, that's why I want to help those people that are out there in the same, you know, kind of driver's seat that I was in, which was, okay, I know this one attorney that worked with somebody that I knew about 15 years earlier, maybe more now that I think about it, probably about 20 years earlier. And I happen to have kept his name. And the truth is that I'm not even really sure that he was aligned with me, although he was a good choice. And I would recommend him again, but I didn't know and understand even the interviewing process. So what are some things that people should ask for? And you know, and then I want to talk about like the money conversation.
Absolutely. And it's actually where, so I think some of the things that people need to ask for, I think that your style needs to align. There are some attorneys that are extremely aggressive, and that may work in that venue. There are some attorneys that are not. You really want your styles to align. Communication, that is key. For those that have gone through a divorce, we know that when you're going through a divorce, it's an emotional roller coaster. It's constantly up and down, and you're upside down, and it's difficult. You don't know where you're going to be tomorrow, and you don't know how you're going to be feeling in a few minutes. And you really need somebody who has the communication style that is going to be able to, at a time when you need them, their response is going to be appropriate. And there are attorneys that don't respond to emails. So the communication, I think, is something that is key. Then the fee agreement. The fee agreement is essentially the contract that you sign with your attorney that establishes your relationship. The fee agreement should be very specific. And the fee agreement should also explain how the attorney is going to bill you. So my practice used to be real-time billing. And that means that I wasn't charging you for a one-word email. I wasn't charging you for every time you picked up the phone and called me. I would group things together because to me, as an attorney, it seems very unfair to the clients. And we all know divorces are extremely expensive. Like you stated, Vicki, from the beginning, one little mistake can be very costly. And absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, and sometimes we're talking about finances that it can be costly. Sometimes it can be costly with your children. Sometimes it can, so mistakes can be costly, and you really need to minimize legal fees is really something that is a goal of mine. Save time, save money, and save their sanity. There it is. But it's really important. And I think to really understand how your attorney is going to bill you, because you don't want to get that first bill when every time you have a thought or an idea, you've picked up the phone, called your attorney, sent them an email, and suddenly your first bill is a $12,000 bill. And you're thinking, oh, how am I going to pay this? One, and number two, how did it get that high? The fee agreement should be very specific to that. And as a practice, fee agreements should be reviewed. The attorney should allow the client to review the fee agreement with an independent attorney, somebody completely separate from them. That way they know that they understand it and they know that it's fair and reasonable before they sign it. So really understanding the fee agreement. I have spent a lot of time in client meetings initially going through them and ask questions. If you don't understand something, ask questions. There's no silly question. The only silly question is the one that's not asked.
Well, here's a question
Sure.
for you. When we talk about fees.
Yes.
And this is actually the first time these words have even come out of my mouth. Is there an appropriate conversation to be said about, is the fee negotiable? Is that fee, like, I mean, you know, when they put it on the contract that they're billing you $300, $400 an hour, whatever that number is, $250, whatever. Can you negotiate on that?
You know, I think you can. And what I have had in my practice, what I have done is a series of things. I've been open to payment plans, very much so. I've been open to, on a lot of my bills, I give, courtesy discounts, 10% off here. I write off a lot of my time, but it is negotiable. And I think that the other part of it is that I've had wonderful clients. I believed in their story. I believed in their mission. And I really wanted them as clients and have taken a negligible retainer for just future referrals. Because my belief is that if I do a good job for you and believe in you and help you, you're going to help me. And the way that you can help me is sending people to me. But also, I can do that for you because I understand, especially nowadays with the economy the last few years and people losing their jobs, there's a level of understanding and compassion that, attorney or not, you have to, I believe you have to really understand that. And you have to really get down to that level with people to be able to help them to achieve this, because divorces are at the highest rate that they've ever been. And they are extraordinarily time-consuming and expensive. And that's a problem. That's a very big problem.
It seems to me, seeing that how I've been down this path a time or two, that it is more complicated. And I don't know if this says about the divorce industry and the divorce lobby, that it seems intentional that it is getting more and more difficult to negotiate. And maybe it's because in this last divorce I had more assets. Sure. I don't know what that would be. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that there are, I would say that the majority of, I don't know if it's the majority actually, I would take that back, but I would say that there are a lot of attorneys that are very uncomfortable with the negotiation for their fees. The reality is, as a former divorce attorney who's been practicing for a while, we don't get paid all the time. That is true, we don't. There's a lot of people that do not pay their legal fees. So if you're a solo practitioner and this is how you're paying your bills and your overhead, well, yes, I can understand why there's a hesitation in negotiating. But I think that there really has to be just a realistic expectation of what can I afford? What can I afford and what does this get me? And this is for the benefit of the client and for them and the attorney to be aligned from the very beginning. So I think there is a hesitation with, and I understand it from both sides, which makes it very interesting. As much as I'm very willing to work with clients, I also very much understand the hesitation on the part of the attorneys, because you would be amazed at how many bills just don't get paid at all. And you sort of think, hey, you go to a doctor, you receive a service, you pay a copay, or you pay for it because you received a service. I'm providing you with the service too.
Yeah, right.
But so I understand it both ways. My practice was to always negotiate with the clients because that's who I want to help. That's what my mission was. So, and it continues to be in a different capacity. So the reality for me is that I want to get you that help, and I'm willing to do just about anything in order for you to get the help that I believe you deserve and are entitled to. So that was
right. Well, here's a question concerning money, because you and I have talked about this, and that's where people waste the most money with their attorney, and that's acting as a therapist.
That's right. That's right.
You have a psychology degree, but it's still an expensive trip to the psychologist when you're paying those types of fees. How can our people avoid that? What can they do and what should they do? Because they don't, sometimes I think that they don't even understand that they're doing that when they do it.
Absolutely. And you know, and because divorce is so emotional, when it always feels so much worse to you because you're going through it, you're living it, it's your reality. So there are times that you pick up the phone, the first person you think to call is my attorney, they're going to help me. I really do believe, and I know it's difficult, but I really do believe you need to put in place a support system. It doesn't mean that you need a psychologist and a therapist. Perhaps it's your best girlfriend that you can pick up the phone and call, because that's really important. You need a support system that is more than just your attorney. Not only because that's what you need, but also for financial reasons. And that also plays into the understanding the fee agreement and understanding how your attorney bills. Because for me, when I would sit with the client, I would explain to them that, hey, if we're having a 2-hour conversation and an hour and a half of it is me providing you with therapy, there's no way as an attorney that I'm going to bill them for that full 2 hours. Even if that half hour we've been strategizing and it's a legal strategy, that's great. But the other hour and a half, I just can't justify that. So really understanding how your attorney is going to bill is really important. But setting yourself up for success, and all of us who have been through a divorce, who have been through because a divorce is a very traumatic incident in your life. And when you're going through something like that, you need to set yourself up for success. And I believe that the way to do that is really set yourself up with a support system that you feel safe with, and that when there is something emotionally stirring in you for whatever reason, you can pick up the phone and call them first.
What, Sonia, because we're going to be talking a lot about saving money today, but this is not the only time we're going to be having this conversation, right? But what could you say is the best thing that a couple can do for saving them both money, right? Because when you drag this out on both sides, it impacts both sides of that coin. What can someone do? What would your suggestion be for them to streamline communication? How can they best serve the process by making it, despite the fact that I don't know a great divorce, I don't know, but even in the best of divorces, there's tension and all of that other stuff. So what would you suggest on streamlining that on both sides, almost like an agreement that they could make, or something about communication and not letting it get out of hand? Because I know that that's something that costs people money in the divorce process, because they're just spending time and spinning their wheels.
Right, absolutely. And they're very quick to get the attorneys involved. And whenever attorneys are involved, no matter how minor the situation is, sometimes we make it worse. Sometimes the parties are better off communicating directly. But I think this is twofold. Number one, I have a belief that nobody wins in a divorce. Nobody. A lot of people will tell you, and we have clients who come in and say, I was told that if I filed first, I'm in a better position. It's simply not true. Nobody wins in a divorce. If you're getting a divorce, it's for a reason. And most divorces end in agreements, in settlements. And the reason is because to go to trial or to not agree is a lot more expensive than to agree on some things. But I understand that is very difficult. And sometimes we all know there are crazy spouses and you cannot reason or agree with somebody who's crazy and unreasonable. But I think there's a few things. I think that, number one, when you start thinking about getting a divorce, start collecting the important documents. Your attorney's going to need them. The marriage certificates, the birth certificates, the bank statements, the credit card statement. Start just organizing yourself. And you may not even know at that time, why am I organizing for this? Don't worry. Do it, because those are important documents that your attorney will need when it's time to look at all of the financial issues and to do what we like to call discovery, which is essentially we're just trying to discover what's going on in that family financially, assets-wise, and whatnot. I think when it comes to children, it's very hard. It's very hard. It's very emotional. And divorce causes change. Things are going to change. Your parenting, not only co-parenting with your ex-spouse is going to change, but also your time with your children. And that is really emotional. I like to tell my clients that at some point, there was love between you two. At some point. And the reality is, the more that they get lawyers involved for every little thing, Clients who don't listen to this, or it's difficult for them to listen, or there's a lot of back and forth, something that will get their attention is that first bill. That first bill. And I hate that it gets to that point. That's exactly why we're doing this, right? So that people do not get to that point, look at that bill and have a heart attack. But some people really need that reality check to realize that you don't need, sometimes there's too many chefs in the kitchen. You've got the guardian ad litem, which is a child's advocate and lawyer. You've got the opposing counsel, this lawyer, that lawyer. We're adults. You're going to have to co-parent without lawyers involved. There's an element of having to sort of deal with it in a way, and I hate to use that, but you do, you have to deal with the other person. And I think organizing your important documents is really important. Writing things down. I love to tell all my clients, write things down, a timeline of events. Anything that saves you time and money when you see your attorney, because everything's streamlined. You have a timeline of whatever you want to discuss with your attorney. You have a timeline of events that the attorney will need to make their arguments for your case. That streamlines your process. It makes your meetings with your attorney very focused, and that in turn saves you time and money. And it really is something that, as an attorney, I appreciate because I can refer back to it. And from the psychological part, sometimes getting things down on paper really helps the clients. It really helps them focus, and it really helps them sort of get it out. And there are so many ways that you really need to get that out. And so I'm a big fan of those two things.
Wow, let me ask you this, and what we're going to do after this, I want everybody to know that every time we do these webinars, we are going back into our private Facebook group where you're going to be there for at least another half an hour, where we can actually answer your questions. That is available in our membership area. So if you need information on how you can get back to our Facebook page, it starts as little as $7 a month that you can ask some questions. So we are gonna wrap this up in about another 5 minutes or so. But the last point on saving money, or not saving money, but the money issue. Sure. There has been a lot of times, Sonia, when I hear from people, and it tends to be women, honestly, where they get to the divorce table and they don't have the purse strings. They don't have the finances to get this going. The accounts have been under somebody else's control. They don't have the money to go to a divorce. How does that start, and how does that get going?
Sure. A lot of people are in that situation, and that is a difficult situation. And when you have a divorce starting where somebody has been controlling the finances and somebody does not have access to them, unfortunately, that divorce starts on a very aggressive note, because the first thing that your attorney is going to want to do is get you access to those funds so that you can pay your attorney and your bills and live. So it starts off with asking the court in a motion session for a hearing. So a motion is just what us lawyers like to call, we're essentially asking the court for something. And in this motion, the attorney would be asking for certain funds to be released. And it's aggressive, but if you do not have access to finances, that is exactly what we would recommend doing. Other times, attorneys do talk behind the scenes, and sometimes one attorney will put in a call to another one and talk to them about the situation. There is a lot of, and that's difficult for clients to understand, and I very much am I understand why it's difficult, but there is a lot of behind the scenes negotiation that takes place between lawyers. And that is, if somebody does not have access to the finances or the funds, what I would start off with, instead of aggressively going to court, because that just starts the divorce off in a very adversarial way. And it's already an adversarial process. It's a divorce. So we're trying to maintain it. We're trying to maintain that level of crazy, what I like to call the crazy divorce train. We're trying to maintain it, but we're also trying to get you what you deserve and are entitled to. And so my first step would be placing the call to the other attorney, talking to them about it, seeing if funds can be released. If they cannot, then we're going to court. And that's a difficult thing for clients to understand. There are going to be, even though, like I said in the beginning, most divorces settle. It's not like the movies where everybody's on trial with 10 witnesses, and that's not, most divorces settle. However, there are issues throughout that time that you may need to go to court to get a third party, the judge, to make a decision on. But the finances piece is really hard. And, you know, most households are divided like that nowadays. Somebody sort of takes care of the kids and other things. Somebody takes care of the finances and the bills. So it's very common and it's difficult. But there is a solution and something can come of that. And then sometimes judges award attorney's fees. So they require one party to pay the other party's attorney's fees, whether it be partial or total. So that's another way to do it. But if the intervention between lawyers does not work, then unfortunately it's a court intervention.
Oh, interesting. And what about, I have on the Cafe D Facebook page, we have a really active group of people, and there's been some stories that I've heard about hidden assets. I didn't have that so much as others, but that is something that, how do you go about that and getting them to release it? And is there something about a spouse, one spouse being in one state and one spouse being in another, that complicates the situation? And how do you file on that?
Right. Yes, of course it does. Whenever you're talking about sort of any issues that cross state boundaries, it's a little more difficult. Why? Because every state has different laws. Even though divorces, there's a lot of parts of the divorce that are common and pretty mainstream, and every divorce has those elements. When you're crossing state lines, that gets a little complicated. Hidden assets happens a lot. Unfortunately, it happens a whole lot, which is why the financial discovery piece, like I was saying in the beginning, getting those bank statements, at least in Massachusetts, those bank statements go back 3 years. You're getting the tax returns. And that is, for clients, it's a pain because you have to go out and get all these documents and statements. And nowadays it's a little bit easier because you can actually print them off the website. But I tell all my clients, it is such an important piece because of what you just said, Vicki, because of the fact that that is how we discover these hidden assets, these hidden bank accounts. And it's really hard because we have marriages of people who have been married 30 some odd years and they had no idea, and suddenly this asset is discovered. Well, that is when you're bringing other professionals in as well. You're bringing in accountants, you're bringing in other professionals because you're going to assess what is in that asset and how much. And then you're going to figure out also.
There you are. You just went in and out just for about 15 seconds there, or 10 seconds there. Can you just repeat what you just said? And then we'll wrap this up. And if we can have a conversation the next time you and I are together around child support.
Absolutely. That's a big one.
That is a big one. So if we can help our viewers and our listeners negotiate that to their advantage, would be awesome. But what were you saying? You were cut off there just for a second ago about, we were talking about hidden assets, and what's the best way to find those?
So really the best way to find them is to give your attorney all of the statements that they ask for in terms of financial documents. The other part, the best way to find it is, if your gut And I'm a big believer in go with your gut always, because I've learned the hard way. Whenever I haven't gone with my gut, I've lost big time. I know, you and me both. So I think it's really important that if you have a feeling, talk to your attorney about it. I've had a lot of clients that have come in and said, Sonia, I cannot tell you why, but I have a feeling that there is money hidden somewhere. When you have that gut feeling, go with it. But even though it's a pain, and I know, get those financial documents to your attorney. And to save yourself some time and money, go through them yourself. Like I tell my clients, there are things that they may catch in those statements, expenses, deposits, transfers, that immediately sends a red flag for them because they know their situation best. And for me, instead of paying me to go through it for 2 days, go through it initially, flag some things for me. Tell me, hey, Sonia, this is what I see coming in out of this. I don't know this account number. Where is that coming from? So the teamwork again, it all goes back to that teamwork with your attorney. And the reality is, if there are hidden assets, they have to be valued. And if they're across state lines, you're going to need an attorney also to sort of help you out that is barred in that state. So you're going to have a team around you. That's when you bring in other professionals into the divorce process to help you out. But it's a team effort. That is something I've told every one of my clients. It's a team effort. It's you and I. You're driving the bus, and I'm there to help you and do all of it for you, but you're driving that bus. And the more information that you give me, the better it is. And the more that you can filter information for me, the better position you'll be in as well. So those statements, and it's a pain, but go through them, look at them. What's going on in those statements? What raises red flags and why? And then let your attorney know. Don't think, oh, I'm not an attorney. I don't know. Doesn't matter. You do know. It's your situation and you do know. And ask. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. We'd rather get an answer to something that you flagged than you not flag it, and therefore we overlook it, because for us, it doesn't raise a flag.
Right, right. You don't know that the attorney does not know what's normal in your home.
Right.
So, right?
That's right. That's absolutely right. And, and sometimes, we're obviously looking at account numbers and we're doing a lot of investigation work, but you can help with that. And that as a client, just taking that little piece, especially when it comes to these mandatory financial disclosures, is so important. It can save so much money, so much money. And I love my clients being very active in their cases as well. And this is a way for you to also, because financially, we all know in a divorce, things are going to change big time. Whether it be you start receiving alimony, you're paying child support, assets are being divided. There's a lot of stuff financially that your financial picture changes. So for me, I think it's very empowering for clients to have a really good idea of what their financial picture looks like. So this serves two purposes. It helps me and it helps you. And then it helps me help you. Right. So it's really essential. And it's a small thing that can go a very long way.
That's fantastic. Well, I tell you what, we're going to wrap it up and we're going to go back to our private Facebook group. The purpose of that private Facebook group, Sonia, is that so that we have people and guests like you that can go there and answer some questions that's not on our public page for everybody to go through. These are people that will be back there that are going through the process, that see the value in being able to speak to you directly and ask some questions and get some questions answered. So what we're going to do is, well, first, what I want to do is tell them what we're going to be doing together. We don't have all of the details together yet, but we are going to start, at the very least, a monthly group call called The Confessions of a Former Divorce Attorney, so that people can come online, get some real coaching and some real help in negotiating a very, very complicated system. So that's what we're going to be starting out. If you guys that are listening to this, if you guys like that idea, let us know. We're going to send you information. We're going to start to trickle that out. I hope we're going to start that this summer. In the next month or so, we'll probably roll that out. And it's going to be as often as you guys are interested in being a part of that program. So we are looking forward to talking to you about that a little bit more. So if you want to go to our private Facebook group and be a member of the Cafe D community on our private area, it starts at just $7 a month. Where can you go and speak to Sonia and accountants and wealth managers and child psychologists and marriage and family counselors and mental health, therapists? Where can you go and ask these questions for $7 a month? So we encourage you to go to www.thecafed.com and go and quickly click on the membership area, sign up for membership so that you can come back and join us on our Facebook page every single solitary week. We've got 2 things coming up on Tuesdays, I should say Tuesdays. We have inspiration, motivation, and Sonia's actually going to be on that with us too, to help you feel better about this process. Because you know what, the thing that I know about you, Sonia, is that you know and you see from the psychologist side the mistakes that we've made and the emotional sides of this process that damages us and what we can do to lift ourselves up by the bootstraps and move on and start living again. So So we are looking forward to bringing all of this and more. So we've got Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern. If you miss it, we can send you the link for a replay. Thursdays is our Divorce RX with industry experts like Sonia. And then right after both of those each week, we're going over to our private Facebook page. So please, our group, please join us over there. We look forward to seeing you. We're going to head over there right now. And so again, the address for you to go and check that out is www.thecafed.com, and then click on that membership area. Do that right now. We will wait for you, and we'll start answering some questions over there right now. And I thank you, Sonia, for this inaugural Divorce RX. Awesome. We have so much to talk about with saving time, money, and sanity in the divorce process. This is the first of many. So my friend, thank you so much. And I will see you over at our Facebook group. I'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye-bye.